Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Sam Ovens here, and last week I released a video and it was called Why Productivity is Bullshit and the secret is to do less, not more. And when I released that video, I basically told people, hey look, people who are trying to do everything and trying to use all of this fancy software and to-do list stuff and trying to post on 20 different social media accounts, like that's just bullshit. It doesn't work. And if you're somebody that's trying to do everything, well, you're probably going to achieve nothing. And I released this video and it worked, like it seemed to resonate really well with people. It got a ton of comments, a ton of likes, and tons of people were writing in and saying, Sam, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And also we got a lot of questions. People were saying, I feel this pain, like I feel like, all of my focus and attention is spread really thin. And, I'm not getting anything done and I'm working myself, I'm grinding myself out and I'm getting burnt out and not really going where I want to go. And, this seems to be a common theme among a lot of people. So this week, I wanted to release another video, kind of a sequel to that one, following on the same sort of theme. And I want to introduce you to a tool that I use called the 80-20 Power Grid. So this tool is amazing. What it allows you to do is, so it's actually, a tool that you can use on your computer here. I just printed that out as an example. And in this video, I'm going to give you the actual tool that you can use on your computer. But basically what this tool does is it allows you to track where your time goes each week. So what I get you to do is imagine that you have 100 units of time each week. Just think of it as 100 units, just 100 things, right? And what you need to do is you need to just track yourself, observe yourself for 1 week, and just track where your time goes. Keep a notepad next to you, and if you spend an hour doing email, just write email 1 hour. If you spend an hour driving somewhere to the airport, or doing grocery shopping, or preparing meals, or cleaning, or whatever, whatever you do, write down what the activity is and how many hours you spent doing it. Even if it's sleeping, eating, watching Netflix, it doesn't matter what it is, write it down and start tracking where your time goes each week. And what this tool really enables you to do is it puts your time units into different categories. One category is minus $100 an hour. So you literally, by doing these activities, you're losing. And an example of that is like drinking alcohol or smoking weed or like hanging out with negative people or worrying about what other people think about you. If you do these sorts of activities, if you invest 1 hour into that, it's like you lose $100 because you're actually hurting yourself and harming yourself. It's not, you might think, oh, but I'm not actually losing money. You are. You're really losing money. And, some activities are like $0 an hour. Things like watching Netflix and checking Facebook and Instagram. And then some things are $10 an hour. Things like running errands, buying groceries, things like that. $100 an hour. Solving a problem for a client or reading books and taking courses, all the way up to $100,000 an hour activities like capital allocation and incentives engineering and things like that. So really what I've done is I've categorized all the different types of activities that you can do, and I've put them into different categories and said I've assigned a value to them, like how much they're actually worth per hour. And what this 80-20 Power Grid allows you to do is track everything, and then it adds up where your time goes each week, and it gives you a total number. And it's really like gamifying your life, and it's really powerful. And on this video, I'm going to give you the actual tools for free so that you can use it yourself starting right away. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump onto my laptop, and I'm going to explain this tool and give it to you. So I'll see you on there now. All right, so here we are on my laptop. And first of all, you can see I've got this 80-20 Power Grid sheet, which is loaded up. So to download this, there'll be a link beneath the video. So beneath the video, there'll be a link. Click that, and it'll open up for you. And it will open up the 80-20 Power Grid using Google Sheets. And you can make a copy of this. The instructions are here. It says, click here for the Google Doc. So you can click here and you can get the link. But to make a copy of it, you go File, Make a Copy, and then bam, and save it to your own Google Drive. You won't be able to edit this version because this is the template, and you won't be able to edit it. You don't need to request permission for this. You can just go File, make a copy, add it to your own Google Drive, and then you've got your own one. And then what I recommend you do is you just hover over this little padlock up here, and then you just drag it into your toolbar here, and then you can edit 80/20 power grid. Bam. And now you have it in your toolbar so that you can remember to do it each day. And then you can get rid of it just like that. So you can have quick access to it, and you can edit this thing online using your computer, your laptop, your iPad, your iPhone. It'll sync across all the different devices because it's cloud-based, it's online, and you can also share it with other people. You can share it with your team and things like that. So it's totally customizable, and it's totally free too, and very easy to use. So let me explain it. So basically what I've done here is I've categorized different categories where your time can go. So there's minus $100 per hour tasks. These are things like drinking alcohol, smoking weed, eating fast food, hanging out with negative people, worrying what people think about you, avoiding problems that need fixing, and breaking promises, letting people down, and doing stupid stuff. And you might think, oh, hey, that's not true. If I go eat fast food, I don't lose $100, so this is wrong. Well, no, but what you're not seeing is you're failing to see the long-term consequences of your actions today. So if you're like drinking alcohol and you're eating fast food and things like that, hanging out with negative people, you might not notice. You're not going to see $100 go out of your bank account. But in the long term, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, even 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be losing tons of money for these decisions that you make today. So this is what this sheet is about. It's not about immediate return on these activities. It's about like the long-term consequences of these activities. So there's actually, people don't understand this, but there's actually things you can do that cost you money. All of these things here are negatives. Then there's things which are worth $0 per hour. Things like watching Netflix, checking Facebook and Instagram, scrolling through the news feed, watching YouTube videos that aren't educational. You're just kind of mindlessly drifting and floating through YouTube. Playing video games, unless you're a professional that is employed to play video games and you actually make money for doing it, and that's your job, well then that's fine. But this is, when I say playing video games here, I mean playing video games when really you should be doing something else. And then following other people's lives. People are crazy these days. They literally just watch other people's lives. And I honestly think that most people seem to care more about other people's lives than they do their own, which is pretty messed up, but that's kind of what happens these days. And that's a $0 per hour activity. Then we've got $10 per hour activities, and these are like, minimum wage sort of activities. So like running errands, buying groceries or trips to any store, cooking meals, cleaning, doing dishes, attending meetings or phone calls, and mowing the lawns, household maintenance, replying to emails and social media messages like direct messages or comments, and customer support, answering your phone and texts, even checking your voicemail, editing your website, and spelling everything perfectly. This is a minimum wage task. I make spelling mistakes all the time, and people always email me and they're like, Sam, you made a spelling mistake. And I'm like, yeah, of course I did. There's thousands of them. I'm not that worried about the spelling of things. I'm worried about the main thing, which is, do I have a business that actually solves a problem for people? And is it succeeding in solving that problem? Are my customers satisfied and happy? And is my company making money? And if that's all happening, then who cares if a word's spelt incorrectly? These are things which some people obsess about, but they're actually of pretty much little to no value. And then cold calling and following up, all $10 per hour activities. So you can see here that I've listed both personal life and business stuff, because really it's all the same thing. All we have is time, and it just goes into personal or business, and even the way you spend your personal time can be categorized too. Because there's ways you can spend your personal time that isn't working that is still a good use of it. For example, exercise or proper sleep and relaxation, unwinding, that's actually a very valuable exercise to do because you're recovering, you're resting. That means when you go back to work, you're going to be sharper. However, there's other things you can do in your personal time, like hanging out with negative people, eating fast food, smoking weed, and drinking alcohol. And what's funny is, some people do all 4 of these things at the same time, and that's like 4 negatives on top of each other. And so there's good ways to spend your business time, and there's good and bad ways to spend your personal time too. So you want to map all of it: the time you sleep, the time you're doing everything. Track everything, not just your work day, what you do at home too. Then now we're getting up a little bit more into like $100 per hour activities. And the reason why most people never really make more than like $10 to $15 an hour is because they can never get past this category here. They're constantly stuck down in these areas. And if you're doing minus $100 per hour activities and you're only earning $15 per hour, of course you're not going to have any money. And that's what's incredible about this. It's all about the sum total of your decisions. That's what your life is. Your life isn't the way it is because of any external circumstance. It's not the government, it's not the country you're in, it's not anything. It's all your fault, and good or bad. Some people might have exactly what they want and they're doing extremely well. Well, cool, that was their doing. They did that. And some people might really hate their life and think it's totally messed up. Well, you did that to yourself. We all dictate like what happens in our own lives. It's all about decisions and the decisions we make every day, every moment of the day. And through this 80-20 power grid, it's basically a way to look at the bad ones and the good ones, look at where our time's going, and make sure that we're constantly trying to do more of the good stuff, less of the bad stuff. So $100 per hour activities are things like solving a problem for a client or a customer, talking to a qualified prospect, writing emails to prospects or clients, managing pay-per-click campaigns like Facebook, YouTube, AdWords, things like that, outsourcing simple tasks, creating best practice documents so that, creating instructions for a task so that next time you give it to somebody, you don't have to explain it to them, you can just give them the instructions and they can copy it, right? And then posting content on social media, and then reading books and taking courses. So these are all $100 per hour activities. And you might think, well, wait a minute, if I'm doing reading and taking courses and I'm posting content, how come I'm not getting $100 in my bank account when I read a book? Again, it's about the longer term. This is where most people fail. They completely fail to see the consequences of their actions today in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They just can't see long term. So yeah, if you drink alcohol now and eat McDonald's now, it's not going to cost you really anything, but in a year or 2 from now, it's going to cost you a lot. However, if you start reading books now and exercising now, well, you might not make any money immediately, but in the long term, it's going to make you a fortune. It's all about how things compound over time. And most people think that, money is the only thing that compounds. It's not. Everything compounds. If you do bad things like to your health and to your mind and to all of that, well, over time, it's going to compound, fester, and get worse. And if you do good things over time, they're going to compound and grow and get exponentially better. And that is, $100 per hour activities. Then you've got $1,000 per hour activities. Things like planning and organizing your day, negotiating with a hot prospect. So this is someone who's pretty much ready to buy. They just got a couple of questions. Building sales funnels or building a webinar, and then delegating complex tasks. So instead of doing it yourself, briefing it to somebody else and getting them to do it. Writing ad copy or sales copy, and creating pay-per-click campaigns. So creating them is a little bit higher yield than managing them. So you can see here. Then creating and judging tests and experiments. And what I basically mean here is split tests. So these are quite high value activities. Like what would happen if we changed our price from this to that? What would happen if we changed our headline from that to that? What would happen if we did this? It's thinking about, it's brainstorming and coming up with with different tests and experiments that you can do, and then conducting the experiments to see which ones perform better. basically using the scientific method to advance further towards your goal by testing hypotheses and just continuing the improvements. And then we've got building and testing systems and machines, and then exercise, sleep, and relaxation. Now you might be like, wait a minute, Sam, like I don't earn $1,000 per hour if I exercise, sleep, and relax. Because if I go to the gym, I work out, if I sleep, I don't make money. Yeah, but listen to this. This one will make sense. It's about the long term. If you exercise and then you sleep well and you relax properly, you're going to live longer. If you just live 1 year longer, and do you think, how much more money do you think you're able to make if you're working for 1 year longer? Even if you're on minimum wage at McDonald's, if you just live for 1 additional year, you're going to make way more than $1,000. So that's what I'm talking about here. By working on these things, you're able to not only extend the length of your life, but the quality of it and how sharp and productive you are for the entire duration of it. So you can see again, it's all about the long term. And then hanging out with smart people. When you hang out with smart people or people who are smarter than you and positive and, people who are generally better than you at what you're trying to do, then their intelligence rubs off on you. It's kind of contagious, like a virus. But on the other end of the spectrum, hanging out with negative people. If you're hanging out with people who think like the world sucks and nothing can be done and that all we should do is just watch video games and complain, then that's going to have a compounding negative effect on you and it's going to pull you into a dark, horrible place. However, if you do the opposite, so that's negative 100 an hour, if you hang out with smart people, that's positive 1,000 per hour. So that's really going to help. Same with meditation. Meditation allows you to get your mind clear. It allows you to think straight. And when you can think straight, you're more productive, and you also are able to better prioritize your time and stay away from distractions and things that you don't really want to do, but you don't seem to have the will or the awareness to stop yourself from doing them. Meditation helps you improve that. So meditation is a very powerful tool, and that's why I've put it in here at 1,000 per hour. Because over the long term, meditation will really help you. A lot of the world's billionaires do meditation. And if a billionaire, a lot of them make more than $1 million an hour. This is what you've got to understand. A lot of billionaires actually make more than $1 million an hour. So if a billionaire decides to meditate for 30 minutes a day, in a way that's $500 million. So, it must be worthwhile to do if they do that and they attribute quite a lot of their success towards it. You see what I'm saying? And then we've got $10,000 per hour activities. This is creating and improving your products, creating and improving your offers. So making your products better. The better your product is, the better your business is going to do. And the better your offers are, the more value you're able to offer to customers. And the more, if you're able to offer radically more value to your customers than anybody else, you win. So doing these things is very powerful. Also improving your value proposition, negotiating major deals, hiring and firing team members, cutting costs. Cutting costs is a high value one because once you cut a cost, it doesn't cost you anymore. But if you have a lingering cost that keeps billing you again and again or every month or whatever, then over time that's going to add up to a huge amount. So cutting costs and really analyzing your costs in your business and in your personal life is a very high value activity. A lot of people think it's mostly about just making more money. Quite often, cutting costs can be more powerful than making more. And then another one is reflection and honest self-analysis. So truly just taking some time to yourself, completely quiet, not checking social media and stuff, and being like, how can I improve? What am I trying to do? How am I getting distracted, and how am I deviating and wavering from my plans and my intentions? And how can I fix that? How can I get better? The people who reflect and are honest with themselves and conduct really truthful self-analysis and who are honest with themselves and don't deny things and don't hide from the truth, they're the ones who make the most progress and get the greatest rewards in life. Also, fixing fixing repeating problems and errors. So if you have problems in your life that continue to come up and they're coming up quite often, it's like a repeating pattern, fixing one of those things is worth a fortune. But not fixing, seeing a problem pop up multiple times and not fixing it, that's a negative. So here it says avoiding problems that need fixing, right? Because quite often when we do this, the problem deteriorates more and more and it starts getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So fixing errors and fixing problems is a big one. And I've got a cool quote which I remember on this one. And when I forget who said it, but basically if you own a factory and you see a worker in there who's every day sweeping up dust, you don't just want to come into the factory each day and sweep the dust away. Come in each day, sweep the dust away. A really smart person will seek to eliminate the source of the dust. So a really smart person, instead of just sweeping their dust away every day, they'll ask themselves, where is this dust coming from? And they'll trace it, and they'll find it, and then they will eliminate it. And then that sweeping no longer needs to be done. And then it never needs to be done again. So now you can see how there's a huge long-term payback and yield from eliminating the root cause of errors and fixing problems that constantly repeat themselves. $10,000 per hour activity. So I think this is going to open your eyes, or it's going to open a lot of people's eyes as to what things have the highest effectiveness in the long term. And then we've got $100,000 per hour activities. And I can imagine right now some people might be like, Sam, no way is there things that you can do that are 100 grand an hour. Yes, there are. But remember that the yield and the payback on these things is over the long term. It's not immediate. But over the long term, it will pay back more than this probably. So capital allocation decisions and salary and incentive decisions. And this is really interesting because Warren Buffett, I'm sure everyone knows who he is. He's a billionaire. He's worth like 86 billion or 90 billion or something. Very successful. He owns a lot of different companies through his investment vehicle called Berkshire Hathaway. He owns dozens of different companies. Now, he lets CEOs and management teams run their own companies. Even though he owns them, he lets the CEOs run them. But there's only two things that Warren Buffett will not let go of, and he won't negotiate with. The CEO is not allowed to control these two things. Only Warren Buffett is allowed to. And those two are capital allocation decisions and salary and incentive decisions. Those, if Warren Buffett makes sure that those are the only two things he manages for every business he owns, and he's worth 86 billion, you can imagine that these things are very important. Hence, $100,000 per hour or more. So capital allocation decisions is thinking, where are we going to invest our capital in the business or in our life? Like, should we spend the money on ads? Should we invest in hiring a team? Should we build our own software? Should we spend money on graphic design? Where should we allocate the money? If we've got 10 grand, where should it go? If we've got 100 grand or 10 million or 100 million, where do the different millions go? Well, those decisions are very, very important. Capital allocation. And then salary and incentive decisions. So probably one of the most powerful human drivers is incentives. And when humans have an incentive to do something, it totally changes their behavior. And I'll give you an example. In China, they've got this rule where if you run someone over in your car and you injure them and they don't die, you have to pay for their medical care and look after them for the rest of their life. So what happens in China is when people run someone over, if they don't die, they will make sure that they die. They will drive over them again and again and again and then make sure they're dead and then drive off. I'm not joking. You can search that, Google it. It's quite horrific, but that's actually what happens. Now, that's what happens when an incentive is imposed upon people. If you do this, you've got to do that, well, people are going to make damn sure that they don't have to do that, regardless of how horrific the act is. So also in China, I think they've gotten rid of it now, but they said you're only allowed one child per family. And so they had one of the largest black markets of abortions, and also what happened is
Families would abort their child, even if it was a girl, because they wanted a boy specifically, because then they could continue on the family name. And so, that's the sort of crazy behavior that happens when different incentives are in place. So that's an extreme example, but I use an extreme example to really make this point clear to you. Humans will do disturbing things, good or bad, when incentives are involved. So when it comes to creating salary and incentive plans for Warren Buffett's different companies, he makes all those decisions. Who is going to be on commission and who isn't? And the people who are on commission, how much are they going to get? What percentage? Like, are salespeople going to be on commission? Are the retail people going to be on commission? And how much salary are we going to pay to each different person in the company? Those decisions Warren Buffett will make himself. And you and your business, those are extremely important too. They're very high yield activities. Also, restructuring your company, thinking, how could I restructure it to make it more efficient, more effective? And how could I restructure it to lower the costs and all of that? Also, establishing long-term partnerships. So a partnership that might last 3 to 10 to 20 years, that's going to have a yield for the long term. And setting long-term strategy and direction, the vision and mission for the company, and also architecting systems and machines. And I spend a lot of my time doing this one here, architecting systems and machines. So there's this quote from Henry Ford, and he says, man without machine is a slave, and man with machine is a free man. And there's a lot of truth in that. Back when Henry Ford was starting Ford Motor Company, most people did not have cars. They rode horses or walked. Now, there's not much freedom in that because people have to go to different places. And if it's a serious job and it sucks your time to travel, that's not very freeing. And only the wealthiest people could afford cars. It was out of reach of most people. So Henry Ford wanted to provide motor vehicles for everyone. He wanted to democratize motor vehicles, which he did with the Ford Model T. And what he's saying is that a man with a car is a free man, but a man without one is a slave. And in business, this is true as well. Like, if you're constantly a slave to all of these different tasks, then you need to try and figure out how you can automate it or build a system or a machine so that it can handle the task for you. And these are very high value activities, because if you keep doing a task repetitively every single day, well, that's going to take time away from you every day for a long period of time. That's a big suck of time. But if you decide to architecture a system or a machine or an automation thing that can do that task automatically every day without you doing it, well, that means every day you don't have to do it. That means every day you save 1 to 3 hours or more. And so really building systems and machines that alleviate you from time and work is extremely high yield activity. And I spend a lot of my time doing this each day. And also radical innovation. So thinking about how your company can offer radically more value to customers than anyone else in the marketplace. These are all really high yield activities. So now that I've explained these different categories and given you different examples, so how do you actually use it for yourself? Well, it says down here, where does your time get spent each week? And the different activities, this one's obviously minus 100, 0, 100 per hour, right? And I've just put an example in here, like drinking alcohol. So let's say you track your time for a whole week, and every day you map down exactly what you did and where your hours went. So let's say I drank alcohol for 2 hours, I watched Netflix for 7 hours, then let's say, I was following lots of people's lives on Instagram and Facebook, and I spent like 20 hours doing this. This is probably, most people spend probably way more time following other people's lives than 20 hours a week, which is pretty scary. But it happens. And then let's say that they have to do mowing lawns and household maintenance and things, and they spend, 10 hours doing that, and then they solve a problem for a client. Oh, that's already in here. Let's say they spend 8 hours doing that. right? You just plot in all the different tasks you do and how many hours you spend on each task, and you update it over a whole week. And then what this allows you to do is it allows you to see, it gives you awareness and it gives you vision into where your time actually goes. Because what I've noticed is most people seem to move through life and they don't really track it, they don't really think about it objectively, and it's just all kind of like a big blur, and they don't know where it goes, and then when they don't achieve what they want to achieve, they think, oh, it must be the government's fault, or maybe I'm just not lucky. And that's bullshit. It's your fault, and it's because you didn't keep your eye on things, and you didn't plan, and you didn't execute correctly. You just wasted your time. And so this allows you to get awareness into that. And once you have awareness, then you're able to make a change. So you'll be able to see how many hours you spend and what activities you do that are in the minus $100 per hour category. And then it tells you the total hours you spend in here. And then it calculates how much yield you actually get from that. So if I spent 2 hours drinking alcohol, well, I've essentially lost $200, right? And then if you spend 7 hours watching Netflix, 20 hours following other people's lives, well, then I've spent 27 hours doing $0 per hour activities. That means my yield for this is $0. So if you spend all of your time in these two categories here, there's no outcome in life other than losing, because this is worth nothing and this is worth negative. So no matter what you do, you're losing. If you spend all of your time here, it doesn't matter what you do, you're just plateauing. You're not going anywhere. And then here, it's $10 per hour activities. So if you spend a lot of your time here, well, life can be mediocre, but nothing very exceptional, or nothing even remotely awesome is going to happen. It's just going to be dull and mediocre. And you'll never really be able to get out of the struggle. And then $100 per hour. Now, this is where you can finally start to make some ground by actually starting to do some $100 per hour activities. And a huge revolution for a lot of people is when they start doing $100 per hour activities and they start getting rid of the negatives. Probably one of the most important things that you can do starting out is not to try and just do a bunch of the high yields things, it's to get rid of the negative ones. Get rid of these completely. Once you eliminate the negatives, that's the most important thing, because it's the negatives that are going to pull on you the most. And I pretty much used to do all of these things quite a lot. So I know what it's like here. Probably did a lot of these things all at the same time. Probably all of them all at the same time. Like pretty much every few days. So, and when I did that, I was going backwards fast. And so the first thing you want to try and do is eliminate this. Spend zero time here. I used to drink like probably 30 beers a week or something. New Zealanders are huge on drinking alcohol. They're pretty much all alcoholics. And then, I've completely given up on it, drinking alcohol, and I haven't even been drunk in like 3 years. And I probably have only had like one beer in the past year. So I completely eliminated that. I've eliminated pretty much all of these things completely, zero. So I have zero here. Then I've pretty much eliminated all of the 0 per hour and all of the 10 per hour and even a lot of the 100 per hour. And honestly, probably even a lot of the 1,000 per hour I've gotten rid of too. I get to spend a lot of my time up here in the $10,000 per hour stuff at the moment, which is great. That's how I've been able to really grow my business to the point now where we're making about $20 million a year, and we're actually going to make a lot more than that this year, but that's what our run rate is at the moment. So, that's how am I able to do that? By eliminating these and by trying to spend most of my time, pretty much all of my time here doing these. Now, the reason why my company isn't making more than 20 million is I still haven't learned how to delegate these things and move my time up here. When I get to 100 million a year, that's when I'll be mostly up here and I will have built a team to do all of this stuff down here and I will have no detractors. So it allows you to see where your time's going. It totals up every category. And then the cool thing it allows you to do is it gives you a total yield. So it tells you with the sum total of all of your decisions and actions, how good were they? Because that's basically what your life is. It's the sum total of all the decisions you make over your entire life. And you've got to make a lot of decisions every minute of every day, all the time. And when someone's life isn't good, it's because they made bad decisions. When someone's is good, they made good ones. And this is a way to really get awareness into what decisions you're making, where your time is going, and you're able to fix it. So if I spend, here I've got minus 200, 0, then 200, 800, 1,000. If you add all of those up, we get 1,800. And let's say this is what I did for a month. Well, it might be kind of accurate. Someone who does actually do this in a month will probably make about 1,800 a month. Because let's be honest, most of what they did here was nothing. They only did 8 hours of work, really, 8 hours of not that much work, like in an entire month. The rest of the time was wasted. So that's how you use this tool. Now, if you want to know how to download it, you can just get the link beneath this video. So on our website, consulting.com, there will be a link beneath the video. Scroll down there, click it, and it will open up. It's a Google Sheet, which you can open with Google Docs. And all you need to do is click File and make a copy, and then you'll be able to save it to your own Google Drive. Remember, you won't be able to edit this version here. You have to go File, make a copy, save it to yours to be able to edit it. And like I said, you can grab this icon up here, drag it into your nav bar, click Edit, and then you can call this 80/20 Power Grid. And then every day, remember to start plotting in where all of your time goes. And once you start doing this, you can make a different one for each week. So I could go, let's say this is the first week I do it, you can go duplicate, and this might be the second week, like week 2. And every week you can plot where your time goes and improve it. So let's say here was week 1. I analyze where my time went. I'm shocked to see that most of my time is wasted. So I have the intention to fix it the next week. Come into the next week, track my time. There's an improvement, but I'm still struggling to get rid of some of these things. So we go into week 3, week 4, week 5. It's an iterative process over time. So you don't just do it once and then that's it. I mean, you do it again and again and again. I pretty much try and track all of my time every single week down to like 30-minute increments to see where it goes. Because the only way I can get further in life is by moving where my time is spent. If you want to know why some people are way more successful than others, it's because they spend more of their time over here and less of their time down here. In fact, most successful people will spend 0 time down here. 0 time in these categories here. Nothing at all. All of their time will be up here. That's the only way that you get more successful, is by doing that. And so I'm sure this tool is going to be very useful for a lot of people. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. And now what I want you to do is, if you've enjoyed this video, just click that like button. So like the video right now, and then let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know whether you thought this video was helpful. Let me know if you think this video was useful, or if you've got any questions for me about this at all, just let me know in the comments section below. I'm going to be checking all of the questions myself personally, not my team or anything like that, so post your comments below. And then finally, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button so that you can see more videos like this, and we release them pretty much every couple of days, and there's a lot of good content on there, so make sure you subscribe. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.